Hi, this is Colleen with Chats with Colleen. We're so glad that you're here joining us today. Remember, our podcast is posted bi-weekly every other week. We can film the sessions in Lake Mary live in the studio or on Zoom at any time. Please reach out if you're interested in joining us. We love anybody to come and join us. It's such an honor. This podcast is truly about the audience and to help promote other people and other people's hobbies, events, and lives. So please remember to like, share. It means a lot to us. Our next episode is with David Pupo, who is a UCF graduate in the area of Orlando. And he's a real estate investor. He started in wholesaling. He ran a large wholesale operation for many years. And he's going to explain that to us because I'm always confused about what wholesaling really means and how it works. So he's going to get deep into that. And then how he's transitioned into the affordable housing market and what that means to him and his family. And he's also become a father in the last year. So it's really exciting to speak to him, and I'm honored to have him. So please like, share, and join us and enjoy the show. Thank you. Hi, this is Colleen with Chats with Colleen, and today we are here with David Pupo, and I'm so glad that you're joining me today. I really appreciate you joining me on an evening away from your baby. So thank you again.
Not a problem. Thanks, Colleen, for inviting me.
Thank you. So, David, how long have you been in the Orlando area? And then what led you to come here?
So, what led me to come here was actually going to UCF, University of Central Florida. My senior year, I only applied to two schools. I had scholarships going for baseball, but then I tore my rotator cuff, and unfortunately, they withdrew a couple of those. But I was still at least smart enough to be able to academically get into some schools too. So I applied to UCF and FSU. And I loved when I toured the campus over at UCF. I liked Orlando a whole bunch too. And yeah, so I decided to come up here to UCF. And I don't even like to date that, but I went to UCF for 2009 to 2014.
Hmm.
And then yeah, me and my girlfriend at the time, now wife, we both got jobs up here and we stayed up here. And so she's from New Jersey. I'm from Fort Lauderdale originally. So yeah, but we enjoyed the community here in Orlando a whole bunch. And so yeah, we decided to stay up here.
That's nice. That's nice. And then you met your wife there, which I didn't know that. That's really neat. And they
Hmm.
perfect. So, was your first job out of college in real estate or was it in something else?
Real estate wasn't even on the radar. So I went to school with a degree in marketing, and then I minored in finance. But at the end of the day, because of how the credits lined up, it was easier to just do a little bit more to get a double major. So I just marketing and finance is what I did. I did a couple more classes just to get the double major in it. So marketing and finance is what I did. And I took a sales job right outside of college. And what I did with that job was I was like a talent acquisition recruiter. I worked with a lot of the engineering companies. I worked for a recruiting company that worked with a lot of engineers, whether it was defensive contractors like your Northrop Grumman's or Lockheed Martin's, which all have very big footholds here in Orlando, or those theme parks always need engineers too to be able to create any theme park rides. So yeah, so I was recruiting for a lot of those jobs, and I mean, I loved the company, I loved the people, but I hated the job. I hated the job. Um, there was such like a void. It was not fulfilling at all. It was like at one point when you're going through and you're doing the college stuff and like you have, very grand like ambitions of what you want to do. And, I remember like thinking like this is not what I wanted to do. I remember that being very clear in my mind. And so we learned originally girlfriend and I, now wife, saw that Tarek and Christina, the people who do the Flip or Flop show, at the time, I don't think they do it together anymore. I think they're divorced, but they kind of bring it back every once in a while. But anyway, they had this like uh wholesale thing come into town for Orlando. I had no idea what wholesaling was. I had no idea what it was really about, but it seemed just enough because I talked to my mom. My mom used to own a title company in South Florida, and I was like, "Hey, like is this like a real thing, like to be like a real estate investor?" And she's like, "Oh yeah," like, and then she started talking about all these like relatives that like or like family members that we had, or like how you call somebody your uncle, but they're really like the friend of the family kind of thing. And so she would say these names, and I'm like, oh, that's what they did. Literally had no idea. So I went to the seminar thing, and we bought it and shouldn't have, but it was I didn't have the money to pay for it, but we bought it, and like me and my girlfriend Sam at the time, now wife once again. So we're looking at it like, well, what do we do with this? And I'm like, well, there's only one thing to do. We already bought it, so we might as well try figuring out how the heck to do this, right? Um, and so I started trying to learn, and like what they showed on the flip or flop thing, it was such a bait and switch. It was such a bait and switch. It was trying to show you how to do fixing and flipping, but what they really sold was a wholesaling course. Now I know better, of course, but so so I tried doing some of the steps inside of it, but the problem I kept on having with the wholesaling part time with the full time job is I couldn't pick up the phone. I would send out mailers and write them all by myself, and I was trying so hard to be able to do it, but like the job that I was doing at that time with the recruiting was like sun up to sundown. Like I was in the office 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, typically not getting out until 6, 6:30, sometimes even 7. And it was just a grind. And I would miss calls all the time. So I'm spending money, barely money I had, on these marketing materials to not even get phone calls that I could take. And one of them I was able to finally take. I got a property under contract, and I couldn't freaking get buyers like I couldn't get them on the phone because I would reach out to all of them, and then like when they would reach out to me, it was during that time frame, and I had to cancel on that deal, and the estimated AR assignment that I was looking for on that was like $20,000. And that's when like things like clicked for me in like a bad way, but maybe a good way, I suppose, is when I was like, all right, so I just missed out on this amount of money. It would have been easily the most amount of money I had ever made in my life in one single deal like that. And I was like, if I use this kind of tenacity that I have for like 3 or 4 months, do I think I could? And like this is just how I thought at the time, right? I was like, if I could get a deal or a couple deals done in like 3 or 4 months, like let's see what I could do. And so I saved up about that amount of money, and I quit my job, and I started with a brokerage here in the Orlando area that focused on wholesaling, and I mean, I just hit the pavement with it. And I was lucky enough, I got my first deal done in my first week. And then like was able to do with that same investor, 3 deals inside of like the first 5 weeks. He was, I mean, man, like when I started, and it's funny. It seems like it's so long ago, but it's not. But so much has changed since then. Like
Mm-hmm.
the way that I found the buyers at that time were through bandit signs, and here's like the legal disclaimer: check your local ordinances and jurisdictions if that's legal and where you did it. I did it in an area of a small little area right near where the tourist attraction areas were called Tangelo Park.
Mm-hmm.
And this area, Tangelo Park, has it's a small little foothold, but it is just all 1950 style block houses. And we were selling those properties for like 50 to $60,000. And so this guy bought like 3 from me pretty quickly. And so yeah, that's what got me into real estate, and why I never had to update my resume again.
Oh, that's amazing. And then when you say wholesaling, could you give me like dummy down explanation of what it is? Because I'm always confused. Like it took me years and I finally figured it out. But for those that don't know, could you explain it?
Sure. So all that wholesaling is you're going under an agreement with a seller and you're hopefully negotiating a good enough price where you can make a margin on it. So like if I think like at that time with the properties in the 50s and 60s, I knew that guy would buy anything at $65,000 and under. So if I knew I could go get a property for underneath that price point, I have now just made myself a margin, right? If I got it for 55 and I sold it to him at 65, I can now assign my contract interest, which I had at $55,000, and now I assign my contract rights for a fee, an assignment fee of
Okay.
$10,000 to him. So he's buying it from me at 65,000. So I assigned my contract rights from 55 for a fee of 10,000 to him at 65,000.
Okay.
And that's how wholesaling works.
So that it's a pretty profitable way to go in real estate if you know how to do it right, where you can buy the houses or find the contracts low enough so you can put that margin in there to be able to make the money, right?
Yeah, especially if you can find buyers that are real true buyers and like you can see that they're going to consistently buy. I mean, like I told you, I just revert like now there's marketing ploys and tactics and people call whatever the heck they want. I don't really care. Um, at that time, you found a buyer, you found out what they wanted, and then you went to go hunt it, right? That's called reverse wholesaling now. Like they now have a term for it, but that's what it was. This guy told me, hey, anything that's block in this area, I will buy for 65. I'm like, okay, sounds good. And we did it, right? So that's what we did. So that's a really good way to be able to jump in. It's not that scalable, but it can get you getting deals done for sure.
And do you have to be a realtor or have a real estate license or broker license to do that?
All right. So it's super important to know where you are doing wholesaling.
Mm-hmm.
That like when I first started, wholesaling wasn't really a big marketing term. And people it wasn't on too many radars, is I guess a good way of putting it. Now it's getting flagged in several states, and I feel like it's changing on the weekly.
Oh,
So it's super important to understand wherever you are doing wholesaling to figure that out. When I started, you didn't have to have a license, and you still don't technically, here we are, June of 2025, you still don't need one technically in Florida.
okay.
However, I can see that changing any day. The second that what started happening is that a lot of people started just throwing out their marketing and coaching programs, and it helps a lot of people, but it also can put a target on your back if you become predatory. If somebody is on like the brink of foreclosure and you are getting a property under contract and you delay on them and delay on them and you
Hmm.
tell them that you're going to close before the foreclosure date and then you cancel and then they have to get foreclosed on, guess what? That local representative is going to get a phone call. And unfortunately, that happened at scale around the nation. And so something that wasn't really known had now become like oh wait, what's going on? Like, and then it's like whatever case may be, it happened enough for now people to be like, we have to put regulations on this. It's clearly
Hmm.
not doing well.
I just feel like some people maybe take advantage of others and maybe there's no regulatory and maybe that's why they want to do that. But
Yeah.
mhm,
And I get it. It's at the end of the day, wholesaling is two things. It's sales and marketing. That's all that it is, really.
mhm,
You're really trading paper. People can call themselves wholesale investors all day long, but if you're not buying the actual property, you're not the investor. Like you don't call yourself an investor if you're watching stocks. Like you're an investor when you buy the stocks, right? Like it's kind of like
yeah,
a similar mindset
spending money
I
on it.
have with it. Yeah, but get it, whatever. Call yourself a real estate investor. That's part of the marketing. I get it, but yeah, that's what it is. So if enough salespeople are in this world, whether trained or untrained, there's going to be side effects, whether good or bad.
And when you go into those contracts, like at the beginning, do you have to put like escrow money to hold it, or it's done without any money out of pocket, essentially?
So So when we did it, we would put earnest money deposits down. But there are many people that will just simply put in their contracts like $1 or like you have to have technically skin in the game. That's what they call it. So
Right.
like you could put like $100 as earnest money deposit, and that's technically legally binding, right? So
Hmm.
yes, you can do escrow deposits of like a couple $100, but this is also when things start getting flagged, is that like sellers would be like, you wasted all this time. I want that money. And then they're like, okay, that's fine. It's like $100, right? Or on the other side, you put more money down and then you put yourself into a dispute with them. And like you might not have ever put money down in the first place. So yeah, there people do it any which way.
I see that. And then during COVID pandemic, did you any changes happen within your real estate business?
Yeah, a lot of things. That was like the day the earth stood still when like COVID hit. Like
Hmm.
everybody was kind of holding their breath. Nobody knew what the heck was going to happen.
Right.
Um, I still remember like we had at that time, like we were ramping up a lot in our wholesaling operation, and we were usually doing a little bit north of 10 contracts or 10 deals a month. So it was a very ramped up time for us. And then so when that happened, we like fire sailed a lot of our projects, which we thought we could make way more money with, but we were willing to just burn the hand between the bush situation. So, what were some of the really easy adjustments, or what were some of the creative adjustments that we had to do at that time? So at that time, like, putting yourself back into that, teleport, like, teleport yourself back into your body at that time. What was really big for sellers was not having a lot of people come through the house,
Right.
obviously, right? Like one time, maybe two to get access to a property. And that was pretty much all you had. So you had to make sure you could either have a surefire buyer, or what we did, if that wasn't the case, we used this technology called a Matterport camera. And a Matterport camera, you place it in the middle of a room, and it takes like a 360-degree angle and shot of the entire room. So then it just like literally like in that Matterport camera, it creates the all of the rooms, and then it pieces together as you move it the entire house. And so we use that technology for people to be able to do virtual tours of properties. And
Oh.
so we were able to sell a lot of deals using the Matterport camera technology where they never had to need access, and they felt comfortable enough once people started buying again, right? Because it was like a 1 to 2 month pause, but then like it was like it hit a trampoline and just shot right back up. And so then that kind of technology helped out a lot with selling properties quicker.
Mm-hmm. And then during COVID, which further in COVID, like not right at the beginning, but the interest rates dropped really low. Is
Hmm.
that when you saw it went crazy? Like everybody was just buying, probably sight unseen, because there was no way that they could get contracts. Did it become harder for you to get wholesale deals during that time?
Um, yes and no. What were some of the biggest changes that happened? Were I would say two big forces happened. Like let's call it like a year or two after COVID. A lot of venture capital started getting deployed into Florida. That was mainly our market. So a lot of venture capital was being deployed, like, Open Door, OfferPad, Zillow, and all those companies came through and they were buying up properties like crazy, like crazy. So that was one very big shift that happened in Florida. The second was that everybody saw that Florida was on just an absolute inferno run, right? Like it was, I think at one point, like the the uh the inventory got to like less than a week of inventory in some parts of Orlando. It was just like you couldn't miss water if you fell out of the boat situations. So yeah, there was a lot of competition for sure. It made us expand out and leverage technology more. We used to be just really centrally focused in Orlando and like the surrounding counties, and then suddenly we're in Tampa, we're in Polk County, we're in Jacksonville, we're in the Panhandle, we're in Marion County. We never really went into South Florida too often. Um, and then like we were able to leverage technology and go into like North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee. We did a couple of deals in Georgia. We tried Louisiana, but that was a terrible market for us. We actually lost money going there, so we pulled out pretty quickly. Yeah.
Wow. And I see that you've gone towards the affordable housing market. Could you explain to me and to other people who don't know, what does it mean that it's affordable housing? What does that mean to you?
Yeah. Affordable housing to me means that you're removing a lot of the barriers to owning a home. Where now certain loan products that weren't available to some people are like your FHA, your Federal Housing Authority uses a loan where you can get into and purchase a house for like 3% and under the total purchase price, right? And then what also opened up for yeah, so the VAs, so there's a VA loan. So the Veterans Association has a loan, and for veterans, they can get into product for literally 0% money. They can get into it with no money out of their pocket. So affordable housing has made a lot of sense for these two key demographics.
Yes, I know. And then what is the average price for a house in the Orlando area these days?
For like a house, it is just north of 400,000,
Oh,
which is crazy to say that. We were buying properties for a lot cheaper than that, but what happened is, so many outsiders from, different states came in and they just pumped it up, man. So the housing around Orlando around 400, but the product that we're doing for the manufactured housing in many of our markets is like 250 to 270 for a brand new warranties included manufactured home.
wow. That's a huge difference. And that makes, because I think I saw a sign for some like new home built near my house, and they said the payment was like 3,800. And they were like I'm like, that's not an affordable payment. I mean, what?
Yeah,
For a new house, okay, great. But like, people are going to have like no money after they make their mortgage payment. So like 270
right.
for a new house that has warranties is amazing. How long are their warranties on those manufactured homes? Because I've had people ask me and I said, I don't know. So do you know how long the warranties are on them?
So everything has different warranties, right? Like the roof has a different warranty,
Okay.
the windows have a different warranty. Of course, if you put in appliances, they have different warranties. And then just like there's like the factory warranty. So every factory does it a little differently. But what we have seen pretty common is about a 3 to 5 year like bumper to bumper warranty on
Oh,
stuff.
okay, so it's just the same as like a home, because some things in the home are like a year warranty and some are 10. But to be
Hmm.
honest, most of the stuff I've heard about new homes with the 10-year warranty doesn't really like stick because they're always going to say, oh, you didn't maintain something, you didn't do what you were supposed to do, so it's not really covered,
Yeah.
from what I see. And then they wind up in like a lawsuit. So it's not really valid. Since you've become
Yeah.
dad in the last year, has it changed your view on real estate and affordable housing?
Um, I don't know if it's changed my view about affordable housing. What it changed was my view of how I want to run my business.
Mm,
Um, I wanted to be able to create a model that if at 4 o'clock I want to drop everything and go pick up my son from daycare, like I can go do that.
hmm
In my wholesaling operation, it was very tough for me to leave it. I've taken a lot of time since he was born to really reflect on what do I want to create. So he has helped me out with thinking that way, even though he doesn't know it yet. Um, so that's been super important to be able to do that because the wholesale business didn't serve me. I served it. And so with the manufactured housing, it's been much more of a methodical approach to see how I can create an operation that serves me.
Right. Which is great now that you have a kid because they're going to soon become, well, he's a little bit young for that, but activities and you're going to be going from here, there, and everywhere. And if you're tied to the phone doing calls, it's going to be difficult to be involved in that. So,
Yeah, and I want to be present with that. That wasn't something I had as a kid.
hmm.
And playing the amount of sports I did, and I played a lot of sports, by the way. At one point I was playing four different sports like 3 years in a row.
Oh, wow.
Like I played a lot of sports. And yeah, I would be lying to you if I didn't tell you that sometimes it made me jealous to see like the relationships some of the kids had with their dads, or their dads were the coaches and stuff like that. And
Mhm.
so to be able to do that for him is what I want to do. That's what I want to create, and that's my intention. So I will make sure it happens.
Right. That's good. If you speak it, you will do it. So
Exactly. I write it down all the time.
mhm. Good. And then, where do you see yourself and your business within the next year or so within the affordable housing market in Florida and possibly other states?
Um, that's a good question with like serving other states. I think that there's still a really good abundant situation to be able to help out a lot of people in the secondary and tertiary markets of Florida. I
Hmm.
think they're severely underserved, and we can help out a lot of people with that. Um, one of the biggest things to me is optimize then maximize. So I want to make sure that we can optimize our operation and processes in the system. If all of those give me green lights, then we're gonna be able to double, if not triple, what we want as our output. So that'd be super important. Get something that is repeatable. Does that make sense to use a coaching program for? Does it make sense to make a course? Does it make sense to sell it as a franchise? Does it make sense to now go buy manufactured housing or land that can support it, subdivide it, and create like a mobile home or manufactured home? Those are all certainly opportunities, but I don't know yet. I'm still just trying to take it one step at a time with optimizing it and then maximizing it. So I'd say the first goal is to double what my output is. My goal is to do 40 this year. And if that happens or it doesn't, I learn from it, clean it up, and then be able to hit the number that I want, double next year.
Which is a great goal. And then
Thanks.
what areas of the state are you currently working in on these homes?
Yeah, we do a lot of time. So jumping into the affordable housing, it was very, 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 very important to have an understanding of where we had to serve. I wasn't trying to do this in a blind way. It's too crazy of a market at this time to not be very methodical on your approach. So having said all of that, I'd say the secondary markets around Tampa, the secondary markets around South Florida, the secondary markets around Orlando, and then like I guess they can all start going up toward like Marion County slash Ocala. Like, so it used to be like kind of like a triangle, but now we're servicing areas like Okeechobee down south, which has proven to be a pretty good spot for us so far. But yeah, that's kind of where we see like the real guts and the meat of like Central Florida.
Right, which is good. Because a lot of those areas, pretty soon the state's going to run out of like in the, metropolitan more areas, they're going to run out of space for people to build homes. And so those places that seem farther out, et cetera, are going to become the norm.
Yeah, yeah, they are already. I'm getting calls from people about areas, and I, I didn't even wholesale properties over there, and now suddenly you're getting like that little sense of having your feet to or your ear to the ground, and you're like, oh, there's something happening. There's about to be something that's happening there. So yeah, we've doubled our investments and efforts in a couple of areas that we keep on hearing that information from.
Yeah, and with all these people moving here and like bright line train that they've installed, and then the
Absolutely.
highway, the highways building that it's growing, and the mobile homes, manufactured homes are becoming super popular. Doing insurance, I've been insuring them all over the place, all different ages, and all different areas. Like you said, I half the time I'm like, where's this city? I have to look it up on the map. I've lived here like my
Yeah.
whole life and I've never heard of it. But there's so many areas in the state that, farther out areas, but so many people live there. So with land.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, we've had to overcome like of what like a common belief was of a manufactured house. Like
Mhm.
like I always describe to people like these aren't the mobile homes like from like the movie 8 Mile, right? Like, like Eminem's character lives in like a trailer park, right? Like I you've walked them with me and on several occasions. And when we walk these properties, they are freaking nice. Like
Mhm.
they come out better than people's flips in better areas come out. Like if I put a blindfold and I told you, like, what are your thoughts of this house? Like, you wouldn't tell me, no, this is a manufactured house and this is garbage, right? You would be like, oh, yeah, this is really nice. Updated flooring is happening in certain areas. We're putting upgraded drywall. We're putting recessed lighting in there, better fixtures, like stainless steel appliances, decent cabinets, shaker style cabinets. Like all of these are the things that we put in flips. That was a big thing that we did, frameless walk-in showers for the master bathroom. Like like it's like what we did for flips in good areas. And we're
And it's like,
being able to target a price point that nobody can get to.
right. And then if you took a picture of like the inside of one and the inside of like a flip, like, the median house price, and you put it together, like you said, the manufactured house would probably look better. Like the trim
Mm-hmm.
and the inside would look pristine and like super crisp. And then the other house may look choppy,
Yeah.
like paint not smooth and things like that. And the flooring probably not all even. So yeah, they are nice. I always say it's not your mama's trailer, like it's not in the trailer park, and so it's just changing like people's conception of what they think about them.
Mm-hmm.
They're built up to code, like strong wind code. Like none of the newer ones that I saw had damages from the wind from the hurricanes last year. You know,
Yeah.
um, the older ones, yes, their roofs probably weren't updated and things like that. But for the most part, I didn't have any claims that I saw for mobile homes. None.
Yeah, and that was actually another part. I'm glad that you brought that up because this goes into your world, right? Like one of the things that also we wanted to see was like how durable is this product too, right? We
Mhm.
saw FHA, we saw VA, and heck, now even conventional financing is turning around to this in a bigger way. But we saw around the state of Florida, the lowest claims for property types were the mobile and manufactured housing spaces. It
Wow.
was the lowest claims. The highest were single family residential.
I can see that in condos and townhomes with the water leak
Yeah.
fires, but I
Mm-hmm.
can see that. So yeah, like I've said, if you maintain it and keep it up, it will last forever. And so that's just what people have to look at. If it's going to be their forever home or their starter home, you got to maintain your house.
Yeah.
So
Great
regardless.
way. Great
Hmm.
way of putting it. And these are usually sitting on acreage, right? So like the average size that we're targeting for most of our properties are anywhere from like a quarter acre to 1.25 acre is kind of like the sweet spot for a lot of the properties that we're targeting. So yeah, you're sitting on some land too. It's not if you go into a subdivision that's cookie cutter, they sit on like 0.15, 0.16, which is about like I think like 8 to 9,000 square feet. And like, like you have your fence here, you have 5 feet because of just setbacks, and then you have like the other person's house, right? Like people are sitting on a little bit more land and they're escaping that kind of thought now.
They're a little bit able to, yeah, have a little bit more privacy and a little bit more,
Mm-hmm.
retreat for themselves and their family
Right.
if they want to do that and not be on top of somebody in your business. And your
Exactly.
So, how can the public and everybody that's listening help you with your business? What is like your buy box or your need for that you need right now or forever?
Yeah.
Mm.
So yeah, we can start with the buy box part. We're looking for land in, I mean, well, this is where the market research kind of comes into play. And so like we have like 20 zip codes that we're targeting. But if you have property, if you're like a wholesaler or an agent, or heck, you're just an owner of the property yourself, anything that's secondary markets around Orlando and Tampa, I will take a look at it immediately. If the usage can be for manufactured housing, we do look for a couple of qualifiers. Flood zone X is a very big thing, as you know. We're not trying to be in too many flood zones that are not flood zone X. If we do, it has to be the craziest deal known to mankind. Like we're literally only doing one right now because the resale value on it for a manufactured house is 330.
Oh,
It's crazy. But
mhm.
anyway, so that we want the property, the land to be bought. We don't want like something in like a 55 plus community where we're renting out the land and we're trying to buy a mobile home. Like we don't want that. That's not our operation. Um, yeah, I think those are pretty good ones to start off with. I don't care if it's raw land that we have to develop or a mobile home that needs to be taken off the property. That doesn't really affect us any either way. We have both processes going. One of the big things that we are doing is that we are raising capital right now for this adventure because it is in a good way, pretty cheap to do, but we want to be able to scale it up, right? So this isn't one of the bigger things to overcome with this world is the lending on it, right? It doesn't still meet in the primary part, not on the back end. The back end, it meets the most common now financing, but in the front end, that lending is still a little bit harder to get over. So if people want to become like capital or equity partners on deals, me and Justin are running a couple of different offers for people where we're willing to help them out. Like, not only are we getting you an equity percentage in the deals, but we're willing to even be like one-on-one coaches for you guys on other parts of real estate. Justin, my partner, is was a former host of a TV show called Zombie House Flipping here in Orlando. He's been flipping houses since he was 18 and 19 years old. And then me, I've been doing this now for 8 years. And I've been able to do it at a pretty high volume for a good amount of time. So you're working with people that understand what they're doing as well. Maybe not right here in the manufactured housing just yet, but we've we've done new construction, we've done hundreds of flips, and we've done hundreds, and if not maybe like close to 1,000 wholesale deals between Justin and myself. So we have experience in real estate investing. This is a newer opportunity for us, but by the time this happens, the next couple of months with the properties that we have going on, it'll change pretty quickly. But yeah, we're still looking for capital and equity partners or people that want to be just part of this new experience with us.
And learn about it. Nice. And
Hmm.
are you still doing wholesaling deals and regular real estate deals in addition to this?
Nope,
No.
no. So we let go of the good to get the great. So we officially shut down wholesaling in February of 2025.
Okay.
I wanted to just give this operation its absolute attention that it needed. I didn't want to try doing this thing, half-assed and then wholesale half-assed and then none of it really quite works, right? So we made the decision, and it was a tough one because I've done a lot of wholesaling, and I still understand still understand it very well. So to hang it up was a little bit tougher, but we see a bigger vision with what we're doing with affordable housing and manufactured housing.
Right. I see probably a bigger need for that. So
Hmm.
there's a lot of area, there's a lot of houses to be done and explaining.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and we talked about it earlier too, Colleen. We don't know what's happening with the legal ramifications of with wholesaling. I
True.
don't know. Like, in there could be something that happens any day now. I don't know. With what is happening with wholesaling, and I don't want to have an operation where the government has some kind of crosshairs on it. It's kind of why I never jumped in the like Airbnbs. I
Mm-hmm.
never was a big fan of Airbnbs because all across the nation you would just see like a city or an ordinance or municipality just shut down Airbnbs. And so you bought something with the intention of a high cash flow. So you bought it maybe at a higher price and a
Right.
higher loan. And now suddenly it's not going to be able to get the cash flow that you want. And now you're stuck. We have a couple of cities here in Florida where people are dealing with that right now.
Yeah,
And
there's a
it
lot of
wasn't
them.
something I wanted to be a part of.
And then they're stuck. Like you said, they have a high payment. And another one of those that is like a kind of a fad, but not really, it's been around for a while, is the pad splits. Um,
Hmm.
they're rooming houses. So that's what we call them in insurance. Rooming house, even though you're not serving them meals, etc., it's still a house with multiple rooms that people
Right.
share the living area. And it's some cities don't like that. They don't want more than three leases or whatever. But the same thing, like, goes to insurance company, and it's a lot more risky because you've got different people living in there. So
Right.
it's the same thing like that. If they bought this property, redid it, they were having six tenants, and now they can only have three. They're stuck. So it's risky. There's a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And I see plenty of people doing a lot. Like this is the whole thing that like we have to grasp with real estate. There is a million ways to make $1 million. And it is super important to you can try a lot of things, of course, but all these things that you have to do take time and money. All of it.
Right.
So it is super important to start understanding how to self-reflect. This is taking it from somebody who has paid for a lot of courses, a lot of coaching. I'm in the hundreds of thousands for courses and coaching. And a lot of it has helped me out, and a lot of it hasn't. But it's okay to be able to understand what you don't want to do, though. It's more important to be like, well, now, like we just mentioned, right? I'm not wholesaling anymore. I don't want to do wholesaling. I want to focus right now what we see with the bigger and greater good situation. And yeah, a million ways to make $1 million. So pick something that you think is sustainable, something that you like, and and if you give it enough attempts and you give it enough persistency, it will make you that money. All real estate does that, right? You know people that are, millionaires from residential, people that are millionaires from property management, millionaires from real estate investing. Like it can go on and on and on.
Yeah. Like I always say, there's enough for everybody. So, there's enough um properties, there's enough policies in my world, there's enough for everybody to do something. Like you're not going to be able to buy
Yeah.
a lot and put a house on it. I mean, obviously, in the state. So yeah, we can all work together and make it a better state. Mhm.
Hmm.
So thank you, David, for joining me again. This was a really informative episode about so many things. I learned an easy explanation of what wholesaling is, so now I can be educated when I talk about it with people. And then I learned how you transitioned and all the stuff that you explained to me about your life. So I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, and well, thank you so much for being able to bring me on with chatting with Colleen.
Thank you.
And yeah, anything that you guys need, just let me know. We help out people all the time. If you're here local to Central Florida, we run a networking event. So you can come out there and see what we're kind of doing there. If you want to be a partner on one of our next deals, me and Justin are about transparency. So it's really important. We've been in this game long enough and we understand um, how to make sure that you keep yourself a pillar built on a good foundation.
That's great advice. And we will share your contact information, your phone and your email, and your socials, and then also the information about your meetup. That's the first Monday of the month, except for July.
Hmm.
It's going to be a little bit
Yeah.
later.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, because I think this upcoming July, it's like July 7th, so it's like the first Monday back from 4th of July, and yeah, it won't have a good show out. I wouldn't want to go to it, so
Exactly. Or we'll be stressed out from being back to work. So,
yeah,
so thank you. Thanks.
yeah.
Thanks so much for listening.
joining us. If you haven't already, please share, subscribe, and like our episodes and our podcast. Also, leave a review. It will be so helpful to us, and we would so appreciate it. Also, if you want to join us at any time, we're open to any guests joining us in person and on Zoom. We post and record episodes bi-weekly, so that's twice a month. Also, they're posted on our socials, which is Facebook, Secured Insurance Group, Instagram, Colleen Insurance Lady. This podcast was hosted by myself, Miss Colleen Pacheco, and recorded and produced and edited by Sean Spazzato. Our podcast cover art was designed and created by Norma Pacheco, and our intro and outro music is created by Lounge Bar by Geronic. Goodbye.